We are going to the moon again. Yes, you heard it right. Sending astronauts back to the moon might seem like a big yawn to someone who's not into space. Why? Because we already went. Why should NASA repeat what it did 50 years ago? Why is it going again? You might be curious in the answers to these questions, but today we'll answer all of your questions about why we're going again. Hi guys, and welcome back to Not Alone, and today we're gonna see the reasons why NASA is going to the moon again. Watch until the end of this video and enjoy. Also, if you're new here, why not consider hitting the subscribe button, because our channel fits your preferences. Let's get started. On Monday, August 29th, the agency is scheduled to launch a large rocket, beginning a return to Earth's nearest neighbor after many scientists and decision-makers had previously moved on. We're leaving. This is a phrase repeated by agency representatives, added as a hashtag in social media posts and proclaimed on banners placed around the launch pad at the Florida's Kennedy Space Center. Nearly 50 years after the last Apollo mission visited the lunar surface, NASA has established a program that aims to put people on the surface of Mars and other uncharted lunar regions. It all starts with Artemis 1. By sending crewed missions to the moon in a new way, Artemis will pick up where the famed Apollo program's work ended in 1972. Bill Nelson, the NASA administrator, stated during a news conference this month that NASA would eventually place the first woman and place the first person of color on the moon. In addition, astronauts will work and live in deep space on these increasingly difficult missions as they advance the knowledge and tools needed to send the first humans to Mars. That represents a shift from President Barack Obama's remarks in 2010 when he spoke at the location of the American moon landing, in which he advocated for NASA to expand beyond the moon and aim for more ambitious destinations like asteroids and Mars. So many of us are wondering, why go back? Because there is still a lot of science to be done on the moon. Scientists learned a lot about the geologic history of Earth and the moon from the rock samples that the Apollo astronauts brought back decades ago. According to David Kring, a lunar geologist at the Center for Lunar Science and Exploration in Houston, Texas, what today's astronauts can learn could reveal even more. All 6 of the Apollo landings took place close to the moon's equator because it's simpler to land a spacecraft there. However, NASA now has more ambitious targets. Recently, NASA revealed 13 potential landing locations, all near the South Pole, where water ice has been found to exist deep inside craters that never receive direct sunlight. 2024 is the expected year for Artemis 2, a crewed lunar flyby, and Artemis 3, the first crewed landing, might occur as early as 2025. There is no better place to go than the moon, according to Kring, if we really want to understand the origin of the evolution of the solar system. According to him, the moon has preserved evidence of its origin because it has never had an atmosphere or flowing water, which makes it immune to weathering and erosion. They say another reason we are going to the moon is it's a stepping stone to Mars. Mars is at least 200 times farther away from Earth than the moon, making it extremely difficult to protect astronauts from things like radiation exposure. Every 2 years, there are launch windows for missions to Mars. Therefore, the scientists believe that by testing out all of these technologies on the moon first, they would be doing them and everyone a favor. The main goal of Apollo was to beat the Soviet Union to the moon. It was successful, but there was no long-term plan to establish a permanent human presence there. Clive Neal, a professor of civil and environmental engineering and earth sciences at the University of Notre Dame, believes Artemis has the potential to change that. He's particularly interested in seeing a gradual shift toward a permanent human presence on the moon. They're going to moon again because it might encourage the development of new technologies. Numerous new technologies developed to travel to the moon and into space have also greatly benefited people on Earth. These innovations include everything from handheld computers to insulin pumps and freeze-dried food. Similar innovations could be inspired by Artemis. According to a 2013 NASA-commissioned study, the annual economic impact of the commercial products resulting from the space agency's research is between $100 million and $1 billion. The Apollo program was the starting point for many of those spin-offs. For instance, the Apollo guidance computer was a technological marvel at its time. It was an early example of the digital fly-by-wire technology that is now found in both military and commercial passenger jets. The benefits of the electronics miniaturization that took place during Apollo are still being felt today. New flame retardant fabrics first developed for spacesuits to withstand very high temperatures and still remain lightweight are found today in clothing to protect firefighters around the country. The scientists also think going back to Moon has the potential to inspire a generation of engineers and scientists. Numerous new engineers and scientists are said to have been inspired by the Apollo moonshot. A 2009 survey of 800 researchers found that the moon landings deserve credit for motivating a large fraction of today's scientists who have published in Nature in the past 3 years. According to Hardgrove of ASU, they're going to get almost live video from the moon surface with Artemis, and people are going to start thinking about the moon as a real place. These days, the desire to visit the moon is not limited to NASA. China has accomplished 3 successful robotic moon landings in recent years. In 2019, an Israeli non-profit and India both sent landers, but both crashed. An orbiter from South Korea is on its way. Mr. Nelson, the NASA administrator, claimed that Artemis was also driven by China's growing space plans, which include the establishment of a lunar base in 2030s. For scientists, the renewed focus on the moon promises a flood of new data in the coming years. The rocks collected by the astronauts during the Apollo missions revolutionized planetary scientists' understanding of the solar system. The analysis of radioactive isotopes provided precise dating of various regions of the moon's surface. The rocks also revealed a startling origin story for the moon. It appears to have been formed from debris ejected into space when a Mars-sized object collided with Earth 4.5 billion years ago. For the next 2 decades following Apollo 17, the last moon landing, NASA turned its attention away from the moon, which appeared to be a desolate, dry, airless world. It shifted its attention to other planets in the solar system, such as Mars and the numerous moons of Jupiter and Saturn. However, scientific interest in the moon never entirely disappeared. Indeed, because of the desolate nature, rocks that hardened billions of years ago remain in nearly pristine condition. Scientists also discovered that the moon is not as dry as previously believed. Water, frozen at the bottom of the poles' eternally dark craters, is a valuable resource. It can provide drinking water for future moon visitors, and water can be split into hydrogen and oxygen. They are cold areas with ice, but also cold areas that appear to be ice-free. Some areas have frost on the surface, and others have ice under the surface, but the two regions do not always overlap. Scientists are unsure how much water exists or how easy it will be to extract it from the surrounding rock and soil. They're also still working on the moon. One of their primary objectives is to learn about the origins and forms of water on the moon. This time, the researchers are going to the moon for a variety of reasons, as previously stated. They will unquestionably succeed. What are your thoughts?